We are right on the edge of a massive revolution. I'm talking about a world where an algorithm, not a human judge, could be the one deciding your bail, your sentence, maybe even your guilt. It's a future that promises perfect efficiency, zero bias. But it also begs this huge, maybe even terrifying question. Can something as messy and human as justice actually be translated into computer code? Believe it or not, this idea isn't new. Way back in the 17th century, this brilliant guy, the philosopher and mathematician Gottfried Leibniz, he had this dream. He imagined a day when legal fights wouldn't be solved by arguing, but by calculating. He pictured lawyers just sitting down, looking at each other and saying, "Calculamus, let us calculate." The dream was a perfect system of justice, as clean and logical as a math equation. And look, for centuries, that's all it was, a dream. But now, with artificial intelligence, that dream is suddenly knocking on our door. And that forces us to get real and ask a fundamental question. Is justice just a super complex math problem that we haven't managed to solve yet? Or is it something else entirely? And really, the heart of the problem is this. Law and AI, they speak two completely different languages. You see, the law is all about these squishy human concepts, things like meaning, purpose, fairness, justice. AI, on the other hand, speaks the language of data, patterns, probabilities, and above all, efficiency. And trying to translate between the two isn't just hard, it can be downright dangerous. To really get why this is so tricky, we first have to understand what's actually happening in the mind of a human judge. Because it's not just about applying rules like some kind of machine. It's really a search for meaning. Now, a lot of people, maybe you too, think that law works kind of like this simple logic problem. You have a rule, all thieves get punished, you have a fact, John is a thief, so you get a conclusion, John must be punished. Easy, right? If the law was really this simple, honestly, an AI could replace every judge on the planet tomorrow. But the real world is never, ever this clean. Let me give you a classic example from legal philosophy that shows you exactly why. Let's take a simple, clear rule. No vehicles are allowed in the park. Sounds simple enough, right? Crystal clear. A computer would have zero problem understanding that. But then, life happens. What about an ambulance that's racing into the park to save a life? What about a little kid's bicycle or a veteran's motorized wheelchair? What about a police drone that's monitoring a big crowd? A purely logical machine, just following the rule, might ban every single one of them. But a human judge, they understand the purpose, the spirit of the law, which is to keep the park safe and quiet. And so, they make exceptions. And this right here gets at a really cool philosophical idea called phronesis. You can think of it as practical wisdom. It's not about being book smart. It's that uniquely human knack for making the right call in a messy, complicated situation where the rules just don't give you a clear answer. It's knowing when to bend a rule to serve a greater good. An AI can be incredibly efficient, for sure, but it can't be wise. Okay, so that's the human side. Now let's flip the script. If humans are using wisdom, how does an AI think? Well, its whole process is fundamentally different. It doesn't start with rules at all. It starts with data. And the way they work is just night and day. Human legal thinking is mostly deductive. It's top-down. You start with a big principle, like a constitutional right, and you apply it down to a specific case. AI, though, is inductive. It's bottoms-up. It churns through millions of past cases to find statistical patterns, but it never actually understands the principle behind them. And this is where it gets really scary. Look at the difference in the final answer. A human judge is aiming for a standard of truth, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. An AI judge can only ever give you a probability. There is an 87.4% chance this person fits the profile of someone who is guilty. Think about that. You're no longer being judged on your own actions, but on how statistically similar you are to a bunch of other people in a dataset. So you see the conflict, right? It's fundamental. Justice demands something we call due process, which is a slow, careful, and honestly inefficient system that's designed to protect the individual. AI's prime directive, its very reason for being, is optimization, to get the fastest, most efficient result possible. They're basically oil and water. And this brings us to what might be the biggest danger of all, something philosophers call formalization. What gets lost in translation when we try to turn a flexible, human principle like justice into rigid, unforgiving computer code? Okay, let's make this super concrete. Imagine this. You rent an apartment, but your lease is a smart contract. It's written entirely in blockchain code. The terms are absolute, no wiggle room. But
You know, life happens. You unexpectedly lose your job, and you end up being just one single hour late on the automated rent payment. A very human problem we can all imagine. The code doesn't care. It doesn't know you lost your job. It just executes automatically. Your digital key is deactivated and you're locked out of your home instantly. According to the code, it's perfectly lawful. But is it just? A human landlord might show some mercy. The code cannot.
You know, it's funny. The guy who basically invented this stuff, Alan Turing, he saw this coming. He once said, if a machine is expected to be infallible, it cannot also be intelligent. And that's exactly it. A truly intelligent system knows that sometimes the right thing to do is to bend the rules. A system that can only follow rules perfectly is, by its very definition, a stupid system.
Okay, so is this all just doom and gloom? Is AI totally useless in the legal world? Not at all. Not necessarily. The real key is understanding where to use it. And for that, legal experts make this really crucial distinction between what they call easy cases and hard cases. Just think about it. On one hand, you have an easy case, like a simple speeding ticket. The facts are clear, you were going 80 in a 65, and the rule is simple. In a situation like that, AI is a fantastic tool. It's efficient, it's unbiased, but then you have a hard case. Say, a mother's stealing medicine for her dying child. The facts get messy, moral values start to conflict. That requires a human judge to weigh concepts like necessity and mercy, and AI just can't do that.
So what this all boils down to is a choice, a really big one that we have to make, like right now, about what we actually want the future of justice to look like. It's all about defining the role of the human in this brand new world.
As I see it, there are two roads ahead of us. Path one is the fully automated judge. That's where we prioritize efficiency above all else, and just accept that justice becomes a kind of statistical game. Path two is what we call the human-in-the-loop model. In that world, the AI is a powerful assistant, an incredible tool, but the human judge is always the final decider, the curator of justice.
And at the end of the day, the reason we have to choose that second path is pretty simple. Law isn't just a list of commands handed down from on high. It's a constant, evolving dialogue that we have as a society about what's fair and what's right. And you just can't have a dialogue with an algorithm. You can only obey it.
And that's why, when all is said and done, it has to come down to this one thing. After all the data has been crunched and all the probabilities have been calculated, that final act of judgment, it must be human. It has to be a synthesis of cold, hard data and warm human wisdom.
Which leaves us with one last thing to think about. As we rush to optimize everything for speed and efficiency, we really have to stop and ask ourselves a critical question. In this new age of AI, what is the price of mercy?